Morning. It's the Writer's Corner. Hearn's Corner, Writer's Corner. I lack imagination. I told you guys I'd do this on Fridays, so I will. The Writer's Corner is this. Today, we're going to talk about characterizations and characters. The point of a book is to get from A to Z. How you get there is your plot. The plot twists are where you have things unusual happen along the way. And your plot twists cannot lead you to an automatic conclusion. A well-written romance novel should leave you wondering the whole way through if these people are going to make it. In fact, a good one, and I know when I'm reading a good one because I go to the last page to see if they stay together. Of course they stay together. It's an expectation of the genre. But my suspension of disbelief has to be so strong that I wonder if it's going to happen. Mysteries is going to be solved. The reader needs answers. Women's fiction, which is really horrible because most women's fiction covers a genre of broad range of, don't look at my nerves, broad range of readers' interests. It just happens to have women in it. Sports fictions, come from behind stories, fish out of water stories, all have an expectation of the plot, where the fish out of water either becomes part of the pond, remains different but accepted, or leaves the pond and goes back to where they are more welcome. Finding Nemo is an excellent story of a fish out of water, literally, that goes back where he belongs. He adapts along the way and he learns, and that's character growth. And I find that if I am dissatisfied with a book, there is little or no character growth. My friend and I talked on Friday. She was having or Thursday, a devil of a time writing a paper on Candide because Candide did not have enough character growth. Around him people grew, but he remained stubborn until the end. It's another way to do it. It's harder to do it. Just saying. Your characters should be believable. No character is perfect. And if you write romance, no one wants to read about an 18-year-old virgin anymore, except 18-year-old virgins. They're kind of rare. Your population is aging. Your female characters can age too. Gracefully, beautifully. They can be divorced. They should have a sexual history. Most people do. If you write Christian romance, no sexual history. But there are actually hot Christian romances out there that keep the couple in the bedroom, married. And they're going through a crisis in their life or a crisis of faith. I can relate to crisis of faith. Doesn't matter as long as you meet the expectations of your reader. And that's like entertaining at a Renaissance festival. I always get back to acting. Reading and acting are so intertwined. You have a person who has an expectation. You are the puppet master. How are you going to manipulate, and it's a bad word, but in this case it's the best word for it, your reader into feeling what you're feeling? There's a very famous story of Kurt Vonnegut. I think I've told this before. It's not Isaac Asimov. I made a mistake. Going into a writer's workshop, they were doing a book on him. And he went to the professor afterwards. He said, "That's not what I meant." And the professor said, "How do you know? You're just the writer." In other words, once you let those words go, you're no longer an owner of those words. Which is why I never take edits personally. The words are out there. They're not mine anymore. They're gifted to my editor, who then gives them to a final line editor, who then gives them to my readers. Hopefully. Short stories. You have to have a strong impact in a very short amount of time. And I think a good, well-written short story is easier to read but harder to write than a novel. I find myself struggling over my short fiction. Your characters have to grow and develop. They have to start out with negative qualities. Balanced people. If I want to read about a perfect person, I'll go back to romances from the 50s. They were nice, they were sweet. There was no character growth. And that's why people thought it was easy to write romance. It is very hard. Within the parameters of the romance, they must meet, they must have conflict, must resolve the conflict and become a viable couple that is healthy at the end of it, as a healthy, strong relationship. The more complications you throw at them, children, adventure, action, sex issues, why not? The more you grow the character. It's not getting from A to Z that's important. It's what happens to all the letters in between and how twisty does that road get. Where does B go? Does it go over here? C's back here. D is maybe in the middle. And that is something you find out by outlining your story. Now, I'm not talking about a traditional outline. A story outline can just be a few paragraphs, what you want to accomplish. And once you've written your outline, if you find yourself going in another direction, rip up the old outline, or save it just in case, and write a new one. You're not married to your outline. Just because you wrote an outline, you are, if you've written 3 chapters, outline that will consent to a publisher who has agreed to print it. But I don't do that very often. It doesn't me, because I'm too much of a seat of my pants writer. I'm a pantser. Whatever comes off my head. Here's your writing workshop for Sunday, October 10th. Sorry it's dark. My husband's still sleeping. The sun is peaking, and the cat is curled. Have a great Sunday.